105.917 FM, www.nbcasfuji.com. We are the sound of the nation. Welcome to our annual Soufriere morning edition program for today, Monday, 17th May 2021. On the program this morning, in studio, Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Ralph E. Gonsalves, and joining us via Zoom this morning, volcanologist Dr. Adam Stinton. He's the lead scientist monitoring the last Soufriere volcano in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Good morning, Prime Minister. Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning, Adam. Good morning, Johnny P. Good morning, the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines at home and abroad. What's the story over the last 48 hours plus since you appeared on Friday?
Good morning, Prime Minister.
Good morning, Adam.
Good morning, everyone who's listening on the radio. Well, since we last spoke on Friday morning, the volcano has basically continued its pattern of being very quiet seismically. We've had very few, if any, seismic events since Friday. Observations from the observatory have shown that steaming is continuing to be, can be seen coming out of the crater at the summit of the volcano when the clouds are obviously high enough to allow that. So there's still sort of residual unrest occurring at the volcano at the moment, but overall it's fairly quiet.
No, have we done any measurements recently of the gas emissions?
When's
the last time?
The last time I believe was last Thursday. So I think I would have reported on those on Friday. The next gas measurements are due on tomorrow afternoon, actually, and then after that it'll be Friday afternoon. So we're expecting 2 measurements for the gas flux this week.
Okay. And just to recap, the last time was what, 200 and something tons for the day on Thursday?
Yes, it was around 250 tons, I believe, for the day.
Yes. Okay. Which since the eruption started, that's on the explosive eruptions. That's on the lower end.
Yes, that's correct. The gas output seems to vary between a couple of hundred tons to almost 1,000 tons
Yes.
per day, depending on, obviously when it
Yes.
is measured. So that
Yes.
seems to be the sort of normal range.
I remember TC the last time TC was on, and he had told me that I had asked him what the modal cluster was like, but he was not able. He said there were not enough data in terms of the number of occasions that the measurements had taken place for him safely to establish a modal cluster, and that the variations were so wide, the cyclical variation, that the average or the mean would not have been a good measurement. Are we seeing enough yet? You would have had a couple of ones since TC. Are we in a position yet with enough readings to safely establish a modal cluster?
Unfortunately, I don't think we are yet. I think it's going to take several more weeks worth of data in order to get that. To get that sort of assessment.
Yeah. And the mode, or what I call the modal cluster, to make it more intelligible to non-statisticians, that's the number, that's the pole essentially around which you have a majority or a significant majority of the cases, say around the 200 and something number or below. That would be if that is the cluster, if that is where the mode is, as distinct from the average, which would be, as TC said, about 400, but which is not reliable because the variations, the cyclical variations, are so wide.
Yes, yeah, that's correct. Until we start getting a significant number of gas readings, if we start doing this sort of nodal cluster now, it will change quite a bit every time we add a new data point to it.
Yeah.
So we have to wait until we've got a sufficient number of values before we can start considering that.
So that the advice which you're giving today doesn't change from the advice in respect of it's still too early to go back to the red zone.
Yes.
Apart from the practical questions, which you had said, the moving of the ash, the water situation being restored, the electricity, the housing being appropriate in all the circumstances as to where people can go. I'm not talking about those factors which are linked to the seismology, but I'm talking about the seismology itself in terms of activity at the volcano. It would be better to err on the side of caution for the time being.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, things could
Don't go to the red zone.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, things could actually change very quickly with this volcano. I mean, as we saw with the start of the explosive eruptions, they started very, very suddenly, and that could happen again. There is the potential for that to happen again. So it is paramount that we remain very vigilant here at the observatory, keeping a close eye on what's going on.
Now, I know it's human nature when they don't see it emitting ash for us to drop our guards, but we are urging from a state standpoint and from the seismologists, the science, we must not drop our guard. We must keep our guard up. Adam?
Yes, that absolutely. I mean, yeah, you're quite right in the fact that because we're not seeing ash being emitted from the volcano at the moment, some people may think that it's not really doing anything. But as I mentioned at the top of the program, when the cloud is high enough from the observatory, we can see prominent plumes of gas and steam coming out of the summit crater, which clearly indicates that there's a significant heat source still within the upper part of the volcano to produce all this steam and allow this gas to come off the volcano.
Given that the advice you have given up, you have stated up to Friday, and others had done before, TC and also Roderick, that it's still too dangerous for you to go and put up the equipment, the monitoring devices at the apex of La Soufriere. And the next best thing for you to get some assessment, apart from the question of measuring the gases, is to go by way of helicopter and do a visual.
Yes, that's correct.
Are we planning to do any helicopter visuals sometime this week?
As far as I know, there are no plans this week or in the immediate future to do that. I believe it's being discussed with my colleagues in Trinidad and at NEMO, I think, to try and facilitate this, but obviously it's not something that can be done quickly.
Well, once I'm, as soon as the advice is given, or if it is likely to happen, I can begin to trigger discussions with our brothers and sisters in Martinique and also with Sidima, either to get the helicopter which came from Antigua. Remember when we got that through Sidima or through the French authorities from Martinique?
Yes, I was here on island when that helicopter was here. So.
Yes, because sometimes, if you don't give a sufficiently good head start, you may not actually get the helicopter when you need it. Even in the case of Antigua, even when you have the money to pay. So it's going to be important that I be advised soonest. I'm sure that between yourself and Michelle Fobbs at Nemo that I will know soonest. Well, I know Michelle went up yesterday into the red zone. She reported to me that she was going up. I didn't get a report since she came back. I guess I'll get that later today. But if she's listening and there's anything particularly untoward which she would like to comment on, and maybe we can get her on to, JP, to see whether what there's anything that she could report. All right. Is there anything else that you want to speak to?
I think we've pretty much covered everything. It's just a reminder that people need to remain vigilant, and especially the workers who do enter into the red zone. They need to be careful when crossing the valleys. I know the weather forecast is fairly dry for the next couple of days or so, but lahars can occur with little to no warning. So people should remain vigilant in doing that. And
well,
also, the observatory, we will continue to monitor the situation.
On the advice which had been given earlier, I believe either it was from Roderick or TC, that for the contract work at Georgetown, which is in the red zone, there is we're doing a big sea defense work there. And that work had been suspended. But we, on the basis of the advice which had been given by the seismologist, we indicated we took a decision at cabinet on Wednesday to indicate to the contractors that it is in order for them to go back but still be safe. And especially that I don't think they have to go across to get any material at Rabaca, where the situation is at the moment. And I believe the BRAGSA and the Ministry of Works, they have indicated, given we're not 100% sure about the structural integrity of if any real structural damage was done to the integrity of the bridge over Rabaca, that if any heavy duty equipment is going over, they can go on the riverbed now. But be careful as always. If any work is required to be done north of the Rabaca River, because we have to try and lay the basis for as early rehabilitation as possible, consistent with the science and safety requisites. I think all that is within the frame of your advice.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, and if Richie is listening in Trinidad and he thinks that I'm pushing the envelope a little bit, but I don't want to push the envelope, but if he thinks that I am, he can always call in or pose a question by way of WhatsApp, as he has tended to do, to get any clarification. All right, my brother, I don't know if there's any question on WhatsApp.
Not at this moment.
Okay, then,
there was
fine.
just one about the flyover, and that was answered.
Okay, the flyover. Okay. Thanks. I don't know if Michelle is on. Yes.
We're trying to get her at this moment.
Okay. And when after Michelle comes on, it may be useful for us to know from Gath what is happening to the Perseverance intake, which which takes water as far as Orange Hill, to know how that is going. We had spoken about the electricity before, which remains problematic north of the river because the question of whether the houses, they have to be inspected one by one to see if you could have electricity. Michelle?
Hi, good morning, Prime Minister.
Michelle, I was just raising I said that you had indicated to me that yesterday that you were going to the red zone with a team, and what's anything significant you'd like to report in relation to the management of the consequences of the eruptions?
Well, we got to Fancy. We actually made it to Fancy.
Oh, you made it to Fancy?
Yeah, we made it all the way up to Fancy. It was a bit, a lot of trekking and going through the rough terrain. But we made it to Fancy because some residents from Fancy had gone in earlier and would try their way and made a path, so we were able to cross some of the guts and going. Fancy is not Fancy. You know that river where that would have been studied. I think it's 2013 and again in 2016.
Yes.
Where we would have the annual celebration for Heroes Day.
Yes.
That river is down again, and those houses below there would have been affected. So that river is the one that came through Fancy.
Yes.
The ashfall is not as heavy as in the other communities of Owie or Sandy. But you have a few houses there based on the flooding that came down, the lahars and mud flows that came down, that would have been devastated. Only two families we saw in Fancy. One family just at the beginning, another gentleman towards the end, up in the village. So we were able to get through. The devastation, of course, it remains. Most of it is in Sandy Bay,
Yes.
and over we would have had a few homes collapse because of the heavy ash.
Yes. I remember when Minister Daniel about a week earlier had gone, and he said he had reached Oya, and he was telling me the difficulty that the vehicle was tilting because of the way the condition of the road. And you had to drive very, very carefully.
Yeah, we tried on Friday and actually burst a tire. So we tried again yesterday, and I went with the CDRU team,
Yes.
the Telecom Disaster Relief Unit team, and those people that we met, we were able to chat with them. API went also, and we took a little bit of food and water for those persons we met because some have not left. A few have not left those communities.
Yes. Now, in terms of any moving back into the red zone, what is the current advice that you're receiving and what you're giving to the government and people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines?
And on the west coast, on the east coast, up on the eastern side, we can comfortably move persons back up to Georgetown. The cleanup has started.
Georgetown meaning the entire conurbation right up to Rabaca?
Right up to Langley Park, thereabout. Yeah, up to
including Langley Park?
Including Langley Park.
Well, that's okay then.
Yeah.
But what about the village? What about the small community between Basin Hole at Langley Park there and Rabaca?
I would say up to Rabaca.
You would say up to Rabaca.
I would say up to Rabaca. Yes.
Okay.
We've had that discussions. The fact is that because we have the instruments on the top of the volcano have been lost, we would not want to say reduce the alert levels totally yet, because we will need some of that science to still guide us. But in terms of returning, persons can definitely return up to the Rabaca area.
Okay, so that the lower end of the red zone, provided that the ashes is cleaned up and
water.
And I think the water is back there from the system. Though that gets the water on a regular basis from the Perseverance intake, because the systems are interconnected. The water for there would come from Jennings.
Mhm.
So it'd be interesting if God could tell us about the what is happening up at Perseverance. Um, all right. Well, the police station is operable in Georgetown at the moment.
Yes, they're there.
So that strengthens the security in that part of the country. Yeah. Anything else you'd want to say about?
No, we're just encouraging persons to return home and clean up. I know
You mean up to Rabaca?
Say again, PM?
Up to Rabaca.
Up to Rabaca, yes. Up to Rabaca, that decision, I know we're meeting at the council this afternoon.
Yes.
So we will finalize those decisions. On the west side, it's really because of the heavy ashfall that we have not recommended persons to go back to Fitzhughes and Chatterberry. There still needs to be some cleaning up on that side. But once that is done, persons can comfortably return.
Yes. Because, and assuming, of course, that their homes are viable. Their homes are viable.
Yes, yes.
Okay. All right. How is the shelter management going?
Shelter managers, we still have over 4,000 persons in the shelters. We still see people coming from private homes. We would have had 87 persons leaving the shelters last week. We expect another flux to leave today. Well, not a flux. A few persons have indicated that they're leaving today and providing transportation to get them back to their homes. So with
transportation and with their mattresses.
With their mattresses, yes. From the shelters back to their homes, but we're still seeing.
And we should allow them. We should allow them. Those who have the cots to take the cots. We should allow them with the mattresses and the cots. I think we have enough cots in stock.
I think we have enough cots in stock.
Yes, just in case, we have we have any weather event from the hurricanes.
Yeah, if they really need them, they can take them. But I think most persons in the shelters now, it may be just a future when are using the cost. But
I know that.
Many mattresses there.
But I know some persons have asked about the. I know some persons had asked about the cots, and some shelter managers, because they didn't have explicit instructions about the cots, they only had about the mattresses, that they were saying no to the cots. But at the same time, they can take the cots. That would be my view.
Okay then.
So that we don't encumber the situation with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, but this is plenty of reluctant to return. They're just reluctant to return. So we want to encourage persons to you can get back and cleaning up. What we are doing is working with the community groups. So in Bragg, in terms of having community cleanup. So if we lend equipment to the groups that they can go around different houses instead of you can't give to everybody.
Yes.
But to give the community organizations, and they can actually go around and somebody can borrow from them. You borrow today, the next family borrow tomorrow, and to commence the cleanup.
And I what is happening too is that Bragsa is rolling out a program to do some. Well, Bragsa is doing cleaning up with the with the heavy equipment, and they're going to have people coming afterwards to do cleaning, so that it's a program which has to be coordinated very, very properly. We had a discussion with the head of Bragsa at the cabinet on Wednesday, in dealing with all those kind of details. The deliveries of food packages, how is that going to the both the people who are evacuated and who live in private dwellings, and also who are living, and those who are in the orange zone who need some support?
The Ministry of Mobilization continue their deliveries. I know there was a pause on the weekend, but they continue their deliveries daily to those areas, those persons in the private homes. And I'm not sure if they're reaching fully the orange zone, so I wouldn't want to say on that. But they continue their food packages. We still have a few persons calling in that they may not have received, and we forwarded it to the Ministry of Mobilization. But that continues on a daily basis.
Well, they had been given. And I know about the mattresses, but I also know that they had been given in certain communities in the orange zone also.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, the intention of the government is from June to have the machinery in place to give vouchers on a generalized basis, like one 2 week period they will give food, another one they will give vouchers. The vouchers being $150, and the food, the packaged food would amount to that or slightly more. I'm talking about the food for the 2 weeks to give those who are packaging food more time to have more food sent out.
Yes. Yeah, I know. This week, the ministry is actually rolling out 300 food vouchers. So
Okay.
families have been displaced. Yes.
Well, I think they're piloting it at the moment to see how they get it done. And just in case, to remind everybody, when you get your food vouchers, if you're going to buy rum and cigarette, you're going to get it on the voucher. And what I want to urge people not to do is not to do like what happens in some places in America, that people sell the food stamps to get cash. You know, you need to cash yourself, because some persons may buy a food voucher, buy a voucher valued at $150, but they may sell it to their neighbor for $100.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's no need for that. And if anything like that is done, well, there would be certain repercussions. I just want to, because you always have unscrupulous people trying to take advantage of the poor. So I want to flag that in advance. We know what happens in some countries. What about the WFP's food voucher cash payments? When are they?
They did some already, and I think they're the ones that are actually working with mobilization to roll out the cash voucher this week.
Okay.
To do the trial this week. So they continue to support.
They're doing the cash voucher as this thing from the food voucher.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that's important, because you know that with the donation, with the announcement by the United States government, where they've put another $3.2 million towards the UN agencies, which include in the World Food Program. They out of the $29.2 million for the UN Global Appeal, they now have 8 point something million, almost $9 million, which is roughly 30% of the appeal, which is not bad after 3 weeks. Because $8 million US is $20 million EC and change. So that I just want to remind everybody that though we are very interested in this United Nations appeal, global appeal, that money doesn't come to the government. That money is spent by the United Nations agencies. Naturally, they work in conjunction with our various agencies, whatever the relevant agency being. In the case of cash payments, it's with the Ministry of Social Development.
And Social Development, yeah.
Yes. Well, WFP and Social Development. Anything else?
No, Prime Minister. We continue to operate in the EOC daily and continue to run the operations.
Now, how you all have gotten over the unfair bashing you all got about some single bed, some single mattress?
We have to take it and roll with the punches. We're okay. Because we continue daily. Some persons, we can't, even when you call them, you can't even reach them to collect the mattresses. So every time we go out and we deliver the mattresses to your home,
Yes.
You know, so we will be calling and we're not getting persons. So we actually sometimes even call them before they answer. You call them when you're nearby, they're not answering. So you know, so we
I know,
Yeah.
I know what it is. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I know what it is. Every sin, quote unquote, every weakness, every limitation with any management is put at your door. You know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, but God not give more than it could be a girl. Just always remember that. Eh?
Certainly, yeah, certainly.
And we are not a
Yeah.
people of lamentations.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed that the World Central Kitchen has they sent out a circular late last week that they are doing what, another 3 weeks
Yes, they will end on the 29th. The 29th will be the last day.
of this month.
Yeah, 29th of May. Yeah.
Okay, then. Well, that would leave a big hole because they're doing 7,000 and something meals, 8,000
That's a day.
meals a
Yeah.
day.
Mm-hmm.
So and I want persons to appreciate that, and we have to appreciate what the World Central Kitchen has done. And they probably have the view that they have helped to stabilize things sufficiently that they can move on. I suspect if we want them to stay on, we can always persuade them to extend. But are you interested in persuading them, or you just say thanks and we because other people need help too, eh?
I did ask if there's a possibility of extending, so we can have some further dialogue.
Oh, okay.
I did ask, but they had indicated, you know, the period that they normally stay after an emergency.
Yes.
So I'm not sure if they'll be easily persuaded.
Okay then. All right then. Okay. But you have to have systems in place, and in conjunction with social development, operationally, to cover that hole.
That gap, yeah.
To cover that hole, because it's a big hole.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I don't know if you have anything else. Some of these things will come up this afternoon at our weekly management council meeting.
No. We'll chat this afternoon, but just let you know that the city must support Mr. McIntyre. He leaves today.
Oh, McIntyre, he wouldn't get the meeting.
No, he wouldn't. His flight is at 1 o'clock.
Okay. Well, we thank our brother McIntyre.
But we expect to get support within another week or so.
Okay.
Continuous support from Sidima.
Okay. Now let me ask this: there was someone who had tested positive for COVID at the EOC, and
yes.
And everybody was supposed to be tested and all the usual protocols. Are we back to any normalcy there?
We're back to now. We actually had 95 tests done for persons in the EOC, even those that come through, and at the call center. Everybody was negative. We do a following up. We should do a follow-up test this week. So we have not had any positive reports since then.
Just as a matter of interest, what percentage of all the persons, both at your NOC, that the
NEOC,
the NEOC, National Emergency Operating Center at Nemo itself, and over the road at the call center, what percentage of persons you think have vaccinated?
I think about 75. For my staff alone, only 3 persons have not taken the vaccine. 3 out of 17, but all of my staff fully vaccinated. In the EOC, most persons have indicated that they're vaccinated at least 1 dose.
Is there anybody who says that they're not taking the test?
Yes, there are some.
Are you allowing them to come around?
There are 3 members of staff who haven't taken the test, and those who refused though to take the PCR test, like for example, they just removed themselves last week. We had a few persons who refused to do the PCR test last week because we had a positive case within the EOC.
They haven't turned up to work.
No, we didn't.
Okay. Has it been reported to the Public Service Commission?
That has been reported to the CPO because they're program workers.
Well,
they refused to take the test and they left.
Well, I just want to say to them over this broadcast, look, don't be silly. I mean, come on. You don't want to take the test? What do you think the test is going to do to you? And the science in relation to the vaccine. Take the vaccine. We all have to get this country back to normalcy. The economy and everything. All right.
Okay, Prime Minister.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I don't know if Gat is available to talk to us about talk to the public about the issues to what is happening up at Perseverance, and to tell us what is happening as far as they know about the catchment areas in Sandy Bay and in Fancy in particular, both of those areas, and what kind of work would have to be done to restore them. He's on. Gat is on.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Gat, I'm sorry I didn't give you advance notice, my brethren.
Good morning to you. Morning to listeners. No problem.
You were listening.
In the office. No problem.
You were listening.
Yes, I was listening. Yes.
All right. So we want to find out what's happening at Perseverance and what's happening at the other catchments north of Raboka.
Yes. Okay. Well, we completed the cleaning of the Perseverance intake finally on Friday, and we have water now back into the Georgetown area.
From Perseverance.
From Perseverance.
But you had it before from the Jennings area.
From Jennings. Yes. Yes.
Which
a
means
limited amount. Yes.
Which means that the supply for Jennings is now back to where it normally is to reach all the way down to Diamond.
Yes, it was always in that, so we were just siphoning off a bit,
Okay.
To send to Georgetown.
No, well, you know that there are persons down in Diamond were complaining. They still want. Remember, I told you over a week ago.
Yes, yes.
That they won't get in the
local, yes.
The
those
volumes.
Are local problems.
Those are local problems.
Yes, local issues that were dealt with. Yes.
Oh, they were dealt with.
Some block meters and so on.
Okay.
All that. Yes,
all right.
Okay,
then fine. All right.
So we have so we're going to install some standpipes in the Langley Park area, so that persons who venture north of the Dry River and have to do any cleaning and have any need for water can access water across the Raboka River. And once we get the all clear to go further north, then we'll be able to access the other intakes on that side, the Sandy Bay, Owia, and Fancy intakes.
Now, let me ask this. The Perseverance normally takes you up to Orange Hill.
Yes.
But clearly, as you had indicated in an earlier statement, that the pipe which would take the water, and I'm talking local parlance, take the water from Langley Park area, south of Raboka. Yes. That pipe was broken by the elements.
Totally dislodged. Yes, it's so we have to build a new pipe across the Raboka River, and we normally would attach it to the bridge.
Yes.
So once the bridge is deemed okay and everything is working, we will have that. We'll install that. And
but that doesn't take too long.
That shouldn't take very long.
No? Yes. Yes.
Long, yes.
And you have you done any investigation as to what is the condition of the pipes between Raboka and Orange Hill?
We have done some limited amount.
Okay.
Limited amount. We have not completed that.
So you have that to complete.
We have that to complete. And I just want to let the folks in Georgetown know as well that we have, because the water was not in the line, now that water is back in the line, we are discovering several leaks, and persons are cleaning up roadsides and drains, and they are inadvertently damaging pipelines. So although you will see leaks, our teams would be out today trying to
address the leaks.
Yes. So just the leaks.
Well, we have to ask people when they're cleaning, be careful with the pipes.
That's correct.
Don't treat the pipe as though they're iron and steel. Unbreakable iron and steel. No.
Yeah.
In relation to the catchments in Sandy Bay, Owia, and Fancy, what is the status of those catchments?
Well, we had a lone reconnaissance to the Sandy Bay intake because it's still a restricted area, and the Sandy Bay, Fancy, and Owia intakes are all on the slopes of La Soufriere. one visit revealed that our Sandy Bay intake, the entire intake, was removed from its foundation, so it's no longer in place. And the pipelines, we've probably lost about 50% of the pipelines down from that intake. So we will not be able to supply Sandy Bay from that source for maybe about 4 weeks after we gain full access, because we'll have to reconstruct, some of the intake and to do some temporary installation of pipelines.
Just as a matter to give those persons who don't know how far up along the Soufriere Mountain that you have the respective three catchments, Sandy Bay, Oya, Fancy. If in each case you can say how far up it is, or put it differently, what is the distance you have to travel from the actual motorable road, which everybody will go to go up to the intake? Mile and a half?
We don't actually measure it. Like if you were walking, you would take about an hour to get into the Sandy Bay intake.
Okay, from the road?
Yes, from the road. Because it's not motorable. And
yes.
Yeah, and the Oya is a little less than that. Fancy, the Oya is about 45 minutes to 40 minutes. Oya and Fancy would be about half an hour.
Okay.
So the fancy intake is not as complicated. So although it may have been dislodged and destroyed, we believe we can get that back in a shorter time, because it's not the scope of that system is not as big as you would imagine as the other sources.
Now, you set up to Orange Hill, you had done an incomplete assessment, and that's understandable, of the lines.
Yes.
Definitely the one in Raboka is broken away. Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
But have you done any assessments between Orange Hill and Fancy about the lines themselves? I'm not talking about the lines from the intake coming down.
Yes, along the road.
Along the road, which taking the water to people.
Yes, we've had some damage as well. We've had some pipe losses as well, which we would have to repair.
Did your people reach Fancy?
I don't think they have. From late last week, we hadn't gotten a full report from Fancy, but we are hoping to venture into that area sometime, in a controlled way.
Because Michelle and the CARICOM disaster unit, they went up there on Sunday. They reached Fancy.
They went all along the road.
They went all along the road.
Okay, so we should be able to come.
Yeah, but
at least to start our.
But again, to be careful, eh?
Yes, of course, it's not control.
But if you don't want to go by the road from Oya up, I mean fully. If you have any transportation in Oya to take you to Fancy, we could always get the Coast Guard to take your workers at if that route is decided, if it comes to that, at the jetty in Oya, the wharf in Oya by the fishing complex. All right. I don't know if you want to add anything else.
Nothing else really. I just that we, as I said, we just need everyone to continue to be vigilant. We are going through a slight dry period now, which is good for everything to settle down. But we are also entering the rainy season.
But let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Something of great interest which you had said. I don't know if it's a change in position. You had said that the water, you'd put standpipe in Munbentik, in Langley Park, just in case people want to get water to go across to help to clean up above Raboka. You have enough water to allow people to use the pipe-borne water?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, of course. Yes, we do.
I know at an earlier iteration You don't caution in that regard, but it can be done now.
It can be done now, yes,
Okay.
because the perseverance system has enough capacity for that under normal conditions, and we are almost back to normal in terms of what we can do.
But it must have been a hell of a thing to get to perseverance because the road mash up.
Yes, it's difficult to get in there, and our workers have to go there on foot, and
they have to do it. They have to do it manually. They have to clean manually.
Yes,
Jeez. I want again to express our thanks to you and the management and team and certainly the workers who had to trek far.
Yeah.
And had to do the cleaning by way of manually, not having. No, what is the difference?
So 6 days of cleaning we had to do.
What is really the difference of they doing the manual work than if you were able to get the equipment to go up there? What's? But
the equipment might have excavated faster the back of the dam to clear the dam and to assist with moving boulders, because we had to move stones and boulders from the intakes. We have photos as well too of on our Facebook page, persons who are interested.
Yes.
To see the level of work that we
quite an exercise. I'm asking you all of these things because very much sometimes you have the armchair.
Yes.
The armchair critics.
It's not an off and on switch.
Armchair critics, some of them don't have a conception of anything. They believe that you can just wave a magic wand. As soon as you can type your finger on a laptop, that the matter is done. All right. I don't know if you have anything else you want to say. Or if there are any questions come in from the WhatsApp, if you got.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Nothing else from me already.
All right. No questions there, Johnny P?
Not yet concerning the water situation, Prime Minister.
Okay. But the other questions?
There was one about the bridge at Chateaubelair. There was damage, and how soon would work.
Okay. Well, that's a different question. That's not Gad question.
Okay, PM.
Thanks, Gad. As I don't know as of today what is the latest. When I had inquired about that when the work had been suspended, is that the work was ongoing up to the point when it was suspended, and they have the all clear to start back. I don't know. Just in case persons are asking, this is the bridge by the playing field as you enter in the Chateaubelair area from on the leeward area by the ball ground. Okay, that one which had been damaged, and which the contractors they're working, they had been working and then suspended. But all that has to start back up post haste. And if Minister Daniel is or if not Minister Daniel, if anybody from the Ministry of Works is hearing what's happening, whoever is the project manager or anything like that from the Ministry of Works, who knows about what's happening. All right. But while I'm there, I should offer an opportunity for people to ask questions about the supplementary appropriation bill and the supplementary estimates. I'd intended to talk a little bit more about that today, but people may have questions, and if they have questions, they can send them in, rather than me going over essentially what Camilo had said and what I had said and what other ministers had said. And one other matter for reporting: if the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Education or the Chief Education Officer, or Minister Curtis King, to talk about the resumption of classes today for the CPEA and the grade the fifth formers. Gomery's on?
No, Prime Minister, we have a question from
Sure.
a listener. Hello, good morning. Welcome to our Angla Soufriere program.
Hello? Hello?
Hello, good morning. The person may have gone.
Oh, the person, I'm sorry about that.
But I think they were asking Prime Minister about testing for persons in the private homes who have evacuated to private homes.
They can go to any of the clinics and get tested. They can go to any of the clinics and get tested. Or they can go to the clinics, the polyclinics, anywhere they can go and get tested. And similarly, you can go and get your vaccination. And there's a big vaccine rollout again. Because we have more vaccines than people are using right now, and we'll have to give them back. Otherwise, they're going to run out, they're going to expire. Hello?
Hello, good morning. Welcome to the program.
Hello, good morning. I just want to find out from the Prime Minister if he would be offering the assistance to university students that he did last year.
In respect of, there are several assistance which university student got. In respect of
the assistance that you offer to students.
In respect of what?
In the tuition.
There are several offerings which were made. Which specific one?
The one from Service Commission. You have to pay to Service Commission for assistance to pay tuition.
Oh no! The tuition scholarships will continue. The tuition scholarships, you apply again.
Okay, same as that.
Yes, somebody's making noise at the back.
Yes.
Like a wailing song. Let it just ease off with the wailing song now, because people. You hear that?
Yes. So you said that they will continue?
Yeah, you apply as per usual. And what is happening? I had discussions on Friday with the Vice Chancellor of the University, Sir Hilary Beckles.
Yes.
For students who are at the open campus, you will get a relief of up to 25% of your fees. If you are on one of the landed campuses, you will get up to 50%.
Okay.
And if you are residing in any of the residences owned and operated by the university, you would also get up to 50% relief on the accommodation monies. No, and that applies to persons who are currently at those respective universities. All the buildings at Cave Hill are owned and operated by the university, so that'd be fine. There are many persons who remain in Trinidad, maybe half a dozen students down there. My daughter being one of them, still doing her veterinary degree program.
Yes.
Then in Jamaica, some of the halls of residence owned and operated by the university, and some are privately owned. So in relation to Vincentian students, they may move persons. You're on the phone. Let the people who in the house keep quiet now, man. It's humbugging the song. People, so that there are those relief measures which we have which I've discussed with the Vice Chancellor, and they took those decisions.
Okay.
In addition to what we are offering. I thought when you talked about why I asked you which benefits, because as you know, we had we had given a moratorium of well, more than a moratorium, we had relieved people the payment of interest for a year on their student loans now.
No,
made through the NIS.
I was speaking about.
No. That's why I ask you specifically which one, because there are several forms of assistance we give to students with the university.
Yes.
All right then. God bless you, man. What you studying?
Literature.
Okay. Are you a teacher?
No, not as yet.
Now let me ask you: you're the first one in your family who has gone to university?
No.
Okay, you had others before. How many of your brothers or sisters or parents? You have any parents?
One sister.
One sister who went.
Yes.
All right. Your parents went to what? Just primary school?
Yes, that's their only education.
Okay then. All right. So you're part of the education revolution, brethren.
Yes, proud individual.
God bless you, man. All the best. How old are you?
35.
Ah, very good. And you're not teaching, and you're 35 and you're doing English literature?
Yes.
Fantastic. All right.
Okay, sir.
Fine. Hello? If I don't know, if you can't get Gomery, you might be able to get Curtis King or one of the other leading persons in education to find out what's happening today. If all the systems are go.
We're just trying to clear the line, Prime Minister. Their calls are coming, but we're trying to get on.
I apologize to those callers. But I'll answer your calls.
There's a question here about the waiving of the charges for hotel for returning students, and a decision was supposed to be made. This person said.
Yeah. I spoke with Chanel Lampkin, the president in Keyville, and she was to send me a list of the number of persons. I'm sure that list was sent, but I haven't seen it because Friday I was on the road. So I suspect I'll see that list when I go in this morning. But we will provide help. Obviously, I want to know what is the universe of the numbers.
There's another question about the reopening of the medical center and in Georgetown.
Well, we have money in the budget for its cleaning. So the first thing we have to do is to clean it properly, and that has to be done in a very specific manner. So I will have an answer for that later. What I'm doing now, I'm putting all systems in place. And then when the systems are in place, we can give you some specific timelines. I want to see how much I want all the systems to be in place as best as I can before I leave here on Thursday to go to Havana.
Prime Minister, we have Minister of Education.
Curtis.
Hey, good morning, Prime Minister. Good morning, Johnny.
Curtis, I'm sorry to take you away from a busy morning because I know perhaps you must be the busiest man in the government this morning. Because
actually, I'm on my way to an next loading up. I actually visited those in my area, the one at the community center at Daphne. That houses the Gomes Methodist School.
Yes.
We had to do a lot of preparatory work there and over into last night. So I went there first thing this morning.
How many?
I went at
before you.
I'm driving, so I went at this school All Saints, where we have both the Belair Government School and the Western George Secondary School.
All right.
And they're well settled.
That's for the CPA class from the Belair Government School.
And the secondary school.
And the Form 5s.
Yes, I just left St. James at Annisville, where the St. Vincent Grammar School, their house.
Very good.
And so far, persons feel rather satisfied with the condition.
Okay. How many centers you have? How many temporary centers you have across the country for CPE?
Just over 40.
For both CPEA and secondary.
Yes.
Now, where those persons who are in the shelter or in homes from the red zone,
yes,
and from the orange zone like Fitzhugh and Chattabel. Where are they?
Well, they are going to different learning hubs. For example, I know that Chomaka, they are in Kittel, at a church in Kittel. So we are basically transporting them from the shelters to those hubs. So they are at different places. For example, Sandy Bay, they are, well, Georgetown Secondary, they are at the community college. I mean, they're
different places. And all this information was publicized.
Of course, yes.
And the principals.
And we had several meetings with the principals.
And the principals and the teachers got in touch with their students.
Exactly. In fact, at every center I visited this morning, the principal was on hand, in addition to other teachers.
Well, I'm very happy to hear that.
Mr. Sam at Arnesville, that is grammar school, Mrs. Nichols Bascom at Belair. I mean, basically everywhere I went, there was the principal.
Well,
and very impressively, the secondary school students are out. They were yawning for this.
Well, I'm very happy. I'm very happy to hear this is a massive logistical operation that you all undertook.
Exactly.
No.
In fact, we will be visiting this morning to ensure that all things are in place to ensure a smooth operation. Obviously, we are going to have teaching problems.
Clearly.
Yes? So I'm just asking for parents and other stakeholders to be patient.
Oh.
We would work out the case. But
no. It's I just want to tell everybody that you are in addition to your existing budget, we gave you specifically $500,000, the ministry, to rent places and to rent buses.
Exactly.
To take the children for this 6-8 week period. Now, there was an issue in one place, and I spoke to you about it.
Yeah, with the security.
With the security out at Fair Hall. What's happening there?
Well, I spoke to both the PS and the chief. They contacted the principal. The principal was confident that the security in place is adequate, but we have asked her just to make sure that we have the security turning up even earlier to allay the fears of those persons who might have
turn up at 7:30 and leave at 5.
Yes, because we recognize that some parents would be working obviously in some parts of the country, so they might want to ensure that their child is left off on time. So we did ask that.
I will just
have also indicated if they need extra security.
Okay. I just want persons to know the level of detail which we have been going at and taking account of people's concern. In order to find places, for instance, for the grade 6 at Fair Hall, that part of the school which is used as the early childhood center, that's where we are using for the grade 6.
Yes.
But what happened is this, that is also a shelter.
Yes.
So the question is this, though that section is at the downstairs at a level below, even the downstairs, anybody who knows that.
Yes. So there's no risk of
but we were some parents were concerned. Well, there were two concerns. One, the Ministry of Health had a public health concern to make sure that everything is in order, that there is no quote-unquote contamination of any health nature from the shelter into this particular area. And I spoke with the chief medical officer and all the requisite arrangements were there. But the second issue which had arisen was the issue of security. Should anybody from the shelter, because you have 100 and something persons at the shelter, go towards that area? So that would be completely away from where they're staying. But you still, because it would be in the same compound, so to speak, we had to make sure that the security was in order. And that's why I was asking Curtis.
Yes, and we will be visiting there this morning.
Yes.
To ensure, because although we have had good feedback from the principal, it is always good to be on site too.
No, and we mustn't penny pinch on the security.
Okay.
We mustn't penny pinch on the security, and we have to. The reason why we are asking that the security be there at 7:30 is that some parents may, in going to work, may leave their children off at that time in order to get to work, and by the time they get there after work, after 4 o'clock, if the child has to go somewhere, if the child has to travel with them somewhere, that they can pick them up by 5 o'clock, so that the security would also remain there if that is required in all the circumstances, depending on where the children are going. Most of the children is from the same area, but you may have a child or two. So we are seeking to provide all the requisite checks. And I'm happy on the road, Curtis. I didn't expect otherwise, actually.
Yeah.
And I want to thank the teachers, and I want to the principals, everybody. And I'm hoping the parents, all the teachers would get tested.
Yes.
And I'm hoping that the parents would allow their children to be tested. And of course, the children can't be vaccinated. But that I'm hoping that the teachers would understand that in the circumstances, more than ever, they should get vaccinated.
Yes. And we have to reinforce that point all the time. Encourage our teachers and others who would be utilizing these learning hubs that they be tested, because it is absolutely important in terms of health and safety.
And in addition to being tested, for the teachers, for everybody to be tested, including the students, but for the teachers to be vaccinated.
Exactly.
Yes. God bless. Thank you. All the best, Curtis. Right. Good work.
Okay.
Good work.
Right.
Good work.
Yes, done.
Hello. Any questions?
There was a question about the situation with the delivery of the tablets for students.
They have the tablets. This is for students who are grade from age 5 to 9. That is to say, from the grade 1 to the grade 5. The grade 5s in the tongue of Kingston didn't get yet. But from this batch which came in, they have a system where they're rolling them out. I don't know the precise details, but I was given the information and the assurance that they're working through the shelters and the various homes for where people, they can pick up their tablets. I will, if you haven't heard about it, I'd ask the ministry to again publicize further, but they had been publicizing. Okay? But for the grade 6 students, all of them have their tablets. And for the Form 5 students, all of them have their tablets, because that was done before the volcanic eruption.
All right. Question here from a listener. They were saying they know that the persons or the children who went back out to school from the orange zone,
yes,
back to school, they are getting transportation. Would meals be provided as well?
I would expect that. I would expect that. I would expect that support will be given in respect of food also. I would expect all that. The lower end of the orange zone, where there may be schools that where people can go back, they will have kitchens there and so on and so forth now. But for persons who are put to the learning hubs, they will ensure that there's some provision for food.
as persons were inquiring about the returning students from UWI. One is asking now if Sajiko School of Barbados, or Business in Barbados, a couple of students are there, if they are.
These are what?
They would be-
These are master students. Well, all the students. It doesn't matter. Once we're doing the assistance, we'd have to do the assistance across the board.
And some information coming to hand that the Paradise Inn, they are giving some special
For the
for the
students.
students who return.
Fantastic,
Special
fantastic,
fees for
fantastic. Thanks to the management there. I believe others would follow suit. The numbers are not so big, so large, you know. The numbers are not so large because a lot of students had already returned, even in the COVID period, and were doing their programs by distance. Yes.
We have the Honorable Minister Daniel
Hey,
Montgomery.
Montgomery. Hey, Montgomery. Hey, comrade. Montgomery. Hey, Montgomery.
Probably lost him for a while there.
Montgomery, we lose you. Hi, Montgomery.
He's not there. We're trying to get him back, Prime Minister.
Okay.
We lost him for a moment there.
All right. I just want to say that we have $118 million in the supplementary budget, supplementary appropriation bill, one of the most important bills in recent memory. Montgomery's on one. Hi, Montgomery.
Hey, Prime Minister. Good morning.
I'm sorry that I had to track you down. Where they?
I'm just leaving for the office there.
Oh, leaving for the office. All right, brethren. A question I couldn't answer. I don't know if you know the answer offhand. The bridge down at Chateaubelair, the one by the playing field, which had to be the work which had to be suspended because naturally the volcanic eruption.
Yes.
Have they started back? And if not, when is it likely them to starting back?
Not as far as I know. No work would have really started on that bridge except the cleaning up that we are doing there at the moment. We are meeting at 9:30 this morning as to discuss those matters.
Okay then.
So I'll have further information by later today.
Okay then.
Yes.
Do you get any report from Georgetown as to whether the contractor is back at the, or they had to remobilize back up at the?
Well, I was up on the weekend, of course. There's no action there as yet.
Okay.
But of course, I was in touch with Dale Morris.
Yeah.
Who indicated that, that company would have been assisting us well in terms of the cleaning up all in and around Georgetown.
Yes, I know that.
So, I'm in touch with Dale Morris so that we can get them going again.
Because we took that decision on Wednesday for them to go ahead. I mean, that project is not under your ministry. That project is under RDVRP, the economic planning. There's a World Bank project.
Yes.
So that's not directly under the Ministry of Works, but of course, naturally,
but of course,
you will know about it.
Yes, it's in the border in the constituency, and I have interest in it as well.
Yes, and there are 100 and something people working there, nearly 200, I believe, 180, I think.
Yeah, but I think my last score from Bill Morris was around 167.
167. I thought it was 183, as I recall.
That's the last score I got from him.
Okay then, all right. But it's quite a number of people, so that, I always, Montgomery, the armchair, those who are not in the middle, those who are in the armchair, they don't know the details which we make ourselves acquainted with in order to keep a tab.
Well, Prime Minister, of course, being new to the ministry, I had a lot of homework to do, and I'm still getting acquainted with some things. And
I know how that goes. I know how that goes.
That's why I'm trying to keep abreast, almost every week, trying to keep, in touch with these things.
Now, the $3 million road program which you have put together with Bragsa,
yes,
that's outside of the supplementary. That's the normal budgeting.
Yes, but it is outside of the
supplementary
that we had last week. Yes.
Yes, I know when we had on Wednesday when we had Ken Bartholomew, the head of Bragsa, come to give a report on it.
Yes.
They've put out some people, but the bulk of the people have to start from next week, Monday the 24th.
24th, yes.
Because we have to make sure everything is coordinated. So Kem was supposed to rework some plans and so forth. You haven't gotten the rework plans yet?
Not as yet. 9:30 this morning we are having.
9:30. Okay.
9:30 this morning.
All right then. So we'll get them.
But of course,
we'll get them on Wednesday.
Yes, we'll get them on Wednesday for cabinet.
Okay.
But of course, you would glad to know that we went up to Georgetown to do the assessment on the two sites, to place the temporary building, the temporary secondary school building for Sandy Bay.
Yeah, which one you recommended?
And the chief surveyor would have recommended to the Ministry of Education, that is, the Minister of Education was present on that visit, and the Minister of Education, to his satisfied, that the Flamingo, what used to be the building there for Lynch.
The one which I suggested.
Yes.
Yes.
I think all are in agreement that is the better of the two sides.
We just have to fence the side going to the gas station.
Yeah. So as of this morning,
and to clean up the place,
we are beginning to do the cleaning.
Okay.
So that we can send in the heavy equipment to begin doing the type of work that is required.
Absolutely. And the good thing about putting it there too, we are going to be able to use, we don't have to move that temporary facility. We can use it for other purposes.
Very much so, Prime Minister.
Yes.
So
and
you can have an extra facility for the constituency of North Central Benwood.
Yes. For persons who are inquiring if you're going to put something in a temporary school in the red zone, it would be in the orange zone.
Yes, it would be in the orange zone. Yes.
It would be in the orange zone.
Because we haven't gotten the clears yet, and we have to get some things. We have the deadline days for some activities, and we have to get things going.
Yes, clearly.
Yeah.
But that'd be an important, just in case persons may wish to know what we're talking about. The Sandy Bay Secondary School is one of 9 schools on which significant work had to be done. And in the case of Sandy Bay, was to build a temporary school across from where the Sandy Bay School is.
Yes.
And that land happened to be the land of Montgomery Daniel. And he had offered to give that land,
the land
free of charge, and at the end for all the facilities to be removed.
Yes.
But because of what happened there now, we'll put the temporary facility down at Gonsalves, so that people will be able to go and the students will be able to go there, so that when they get back up into the red zone, they don't have far to travel. We will transport them, because we have to rebuild a secondary school at where we have the money from the CDB. In fact, on Friday, I had a discussion with the president of the CDB and his team about the CDB projects.
Yes.
I had Edmund Jackson at that discussion, I had Camilo at that discussion. because these are the area of financing and the like. And we are going to, for persons to know, they will see some work being done down at the lower end of the runway at Argyle, at Annisville, sorry.
Yes, Annisville.
There's a temporary school which is being built there. It would be for the Thomas Saunders, because we have to do extensive work on Thomas Saunders.
Yes.
We have to do on Girls High School also, on the grammar school. And the question is, I don't believe we are going to be able, certainly at Girls High School, to do the kind of work which we have to do there while they're still inside of
shelter.
No, while they're still while students go into that school in the October period.
Oh, okay.
Yes, so that finally the ministry has to work out with the Girls High School leadership, that we know exactly, maybe another temporary school out at Annisville.
Yeah.
But that's a project with the 9 schools, which we had announced before, nearly $40 million.
Yes, Prime Minister.
So, and all that work has to, we have to go on with the work. We have to go on with the work.
Have the timelines as well.
Absolutely.
Yes.
All right then. Thanks, Gomery.
Okay, man.
I appreciate. Good. God bless you.
See you later. Thanks. Good.
Well, as the week goes on, as the days go by, we'll talk more about the supplementary appropriation bill. But I think we got a lot of information out this morning, a lot of practical things being done, and work has to continue, not only with what we are doing with this, but with everything else, for the continued development of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Very important matter which I wanted to talk about is that, just mention, don't know how many persons heard Camilo's winding up last week, Tuesday. And again, I really don't understand how the opposition could focus on a sideshow when we have a main event like this to reconstruct the country. But that's a separate question for a separate time, for a different time. Out of monies which we had for this year for the World Bank, I'm not talking about the Cat Didio which we had put aside, the 20 million US, which is inside of the supplementaries now. We had put aside also from a different funding at the World Bank $35 million of the $50 million required for the US for the hospital, the acute referral hospital. And because of the urgency of what is happening with the volcano, we had asked the question as to whether, if we use that money for other purposes, the IDA, International Development Association allocation for next year, whether we can get, which we will know by June next year, if we could be assured that we will have a similar or larger sum of money to put towards the hospital. And they have given that assurance in a letter. Camilo read the letter. It doesn't mean that the preliminary work, which is continuing on the preparatory work for the hospital, will stop. It's only that we are shifting funding source from one pot to a different pot, and use a pot which would have been available to get that from, to do to contribute towards the reconstruction work, because what we are doing largely in this supplementary is the relief work substantially. Though it involves some work for rehabilitation, like some supports for agriculture and fisheries, and some monies for roads, which are destroyed, and some money for housing. But $50 million inside of the supplementary is for social protection. It's 50 out of the 118, and 40 is for the environment, the ash, which is about $28 million for this year, plus some other things with the roads and the like. Because we need a substantial source to help us with the next phase for the rehabilitation reconstruction beyond the humanitarian. And that's why we had to shift the pots. But because of the importance of the hospital to build resilience in the health sector on an ongoing basis, we didn't want to shelve that, but to get an assurance that there's another pot is going to be available in June next year from which we could get that. So that is in a nutshell how that is, but it's still on the front burner, and we're still doing preparatory work because it's a complex thing to prepare. Some people think it's who not involved in these things think that is simple. You'll finish the designs, but the designs have to go through the ringer to see whether you have to do any reviews and so on and so forth, particularly when you're dealing with the World Bank. And there are certain things which have to be done precedent to any disbursement and so on and so forth, so that, a lot of people don't have the knowledge and the experience dealing with these things, but that is to give you the indication that we already have our eyes. The evangelists say, you must keep your eye on the sparrow. You know that song? Well, for us, we keep our eye on the reconstruction too, as we take care of the humanitarian relief immediately. I had to go. Thanks. I think this is a very productive session this morning. God bless.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister.